Okay, we're going to do a little bit of combining here with this part, and we're going to have basically a bigger part sandwiched between two smaller ones, where we're going to talk about meals and entertainment real quick, then get into education expenses, then talk about dues and subscriptions, then finish off with a knowledge check. So, real quick, when we look at meals and entertainment, most entertainment is actually non-deductible now due to the TCJA. But there are certain entertainment costs that we can deduct. Now, if entertainment is related to recreational, social, or similar activity for the benefit of employees, we can deduct it. Again, it has to be benefit of employee, not a client, not a customer. Those are non-deductible now. If a meal is related to an entertainment event, that meal has to be purchased separately. Again, look at the 50%. Dues paid to professional organizations or to civic or public organizations are allowed as legitimate business deductions. Again, those are the simple ones. If it's for a client, non-deductible. But as long as it's for your employees, we are good to go. Okay. So, let's jump into education. Nice and fun education expenses. And we have a note here, because right here we have to have a note. So, tax law for educational expenses has become very complex. And a lot more than what we actually prepare for. So, this section deals primarily with the deduction of continuing education expense incurred by self-employed taxpayers. Qualified tuition programs, education savings account, tax credits, and education loan interest are discussed in other chapters of this book. That is true. We're going to have a whole fun little section in our credits for education. We've already talked about qualified tuition programs and ESAs in chapter 2. We'll get more in education. Again, we're just focused on self-employed. Okay. So, also, due to the TCJA, we have the suspension of the deduction for miscellaneous expenses subject to 2% of AGI. Basically has effectively eliminated the deduction of unreimbursed educational costs for employees. So again, we're only looking at the self-employed. Employees, sorry, you lost it. It's gone. Bye-bye. It'll come back probably, but right now it is gone for employees. This goes with most expenses. It's the part of that 2% of AGI. It's gone. So, now that we got that out of the way, education expenses may be actually deductible if one or two tests are met. This is very key. The education expense must be paid to meet the requirements of the taxpayer's employer or the requirements of law or regulation for keeping the taxpayer's salary, status, or job. Basically, it's refreshing. It's getting the skill sets that will meet the requirements that the state has provided or any other professional program. 2. The education expense must be paid to maintain or improve existing skills required in performing the duties of the taxpayer's present work. Okay. Now, if it doesn't qualify either one of these, if it's getting you a new skill, it is hard to prove that it will be deductible. Most likely it will not. It's helping you to get to another career. It is not deductible. It has to be for your current job. It has to keep improving current skills. Now, when we look at travel, since travel is everything for educational reasons, travel expense incurred while away from the home for trips that are primarily to obtain qualified education is deductible. This happens a lot if you need to go to any kind of conventions or something that will keep you from overnight. So let's deal with an example real quick. Already knocking out education as we go. Roberta is a paralegal who attends law school at night at the University of Texas at El Paso. Are her education expenses deductible? Assume that 30 hours per year of continuing education are required for paralegals to maintain certification in Texas. What would happen then if Roberta, don't know why I'm having trouble right now, flew from her home in El Paso to a continuing education conference for paralegals in Dallas? Are her expenses deductible? So what do you think? Pause it. Think of your answers. Okay. Let's see. So first off, the cost of attending law schools are non-deductible. Okay. And this is the reason why. The education would qualify Roberta for a new trade or business as an attorney. Okay? Because she's a paralegal right now, if she completes law school, she'll become an attorney. Which basically is not keeping an old skill fresh. It's giving her a new business and makes it non-deductible. Now, her expenses for the conference would be deductible. Meals and entertainment are at 50% only, again, since she is complying with requirements to maintain her existing job. So again, have to watch out how the school is doing. Has to be continuing education, cannot qualify you for a new trade or business. It's how they always get you. So always be careful of how education goes. It's one of the riskier items. Alright, so like I said, it was a sandwich. Here's our other information. Dues, subscriptions, and publications. So, professionals such as doctors, lawyers, accountants, etc., engage in practices or employed may deduct the cost of related dues, subscriptions, and publications. Look how they always have to put those three. So, this category includes dues to professional associations, for CPAs or accountants. This could be the Texas CPA. We have that. Even teachers, they will have dues to certain places. But any dues to any professional association, Lions Club, Rotary Club, those work. Anyway, cost of subscriptions to any journal that is directly related to the taxpayer's profession. So, for this would mean if I'm an accountant or a lawyer, maybe the Wall Street Journal, since I can have something related. Doctors, it will be a medical journal. No, they cannot take their highlights magazine that's in the waiting room. Does not work. Okay? It's not directly related to the taxpayer's profession. So, has to be directly related. Alright. So, knowledge check. This one's a fun one. So, again, you know the drill. I'll read it, and then you can pause it, see which one you think the answer is, and then we reveal which one is the answer. The way. The way is the answer. Do you know the way? Anyway, which of the following would be deductible? Okay. Dues to a health spa paid by a lawyer. A subscription to a tax journal paid for by an accounting professor. Subscriptions to Motor Trend magazine paid for by a registered nurse. Union dues paid by a carpenter that works for a large construction company. Okay. Dues to the American Medical Association paid by a self-employed physician. So, which of them are deductible? Okay. Tis the dues to the American Medical Association paid by a self-employed physician. That's the only one that's really deductible. We already know dues to a health spa, that's a personal item, not professional. Even though the accounting professor is doing a tax journal, that accounting professor is a professor. That is not part of his actual profession. Again, the journal has to be related to their true profession, which he is a teacher. Motor Trend magazine, again, registered nurse, doesn't work. And then union dues, that is a completely different beast. That is not even part of dues, subscriptions, and publications. Okay, so this concludes another part where we talked about meals and entertainment real quick, education, and then dues, subscriptions, and publications. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the next part, which has, again, a couple of items that we're going to talk about, and special clothing and business gifts.